All right, the escalating situation between Texas Governor Greg Abbott and the Biden administration regarding this crisis at the Texas-Mexico border raises questions straight from a constitutional law book. As governor, Abbott said in a statement yesterday, he believes that Texas has constitutional authority that supersedes federal statutes at the border. News pundits continue to assert that Texas has defied a Supreme Court order. But is that really the case? Joining me now to shed some light on these legal issues is Ken Klukowski, a former senior counsel in the Civil Rights Division of the U.S. Department of Justice and former special counsel in the White House's Office of Management and Budget. And he has also litigated constitutional cases in the U.S. Supreme Court. Ken, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Great to be with you, Tony. Thank you.
So very quickly, how did we get here? The Texas won an appeal to the Fifth Circuit that said that they could protect this wire. That went up to the Supreme Court this week, and the court refused to allow that to stay in place until the full litigation is done. And that's what brought us to this current point of crisis. Am I correct?
Yeah. Yes, that's correct, Tony. It's in the lawsuit as it was going up on appeal. Texas asked for an injunction pending appeal, which is just a temporary measure. They're saying, we need help now, even while this case is proceeding. The Fifth Circuit, in an opinion, a great opinion written by Judge Kyle Duncan, explained why Texas was on the right side of the law and thus granted this injunction. Then President Biden's Solicitor General, Elizabeth Prelogar, applied to the Supreme Court to issue an emergency stay pending appeal. And by a 5-4 vote, the Supreme Court, surprising many people, surprising me, granted that stay, which essentially took that temporary injunction from the Fifth Circuit and put it on the shelf, so that Border Patrol agents could go back to carrying out their orders, which polling shows they do not want to carry out, but the orders they're getting from Washington to actually cut through this razor wire and removing it from the border.
Okay, so Governor Abbott says, I don't care. The Constitution gives me the right, if the federal government is not protecting us against an invasion, for me to do it. And so he's moving forward. Is that what we have?
That's right. And there are, with a couple add-ons. First of all, there are those saying, oh, Texas is defying the Supreme Court. No, they're not. Right now, Border Patrol agents are free to be cutting the fence, and Texas personnel are free to be setting it back up. So Texas is not under a court order here. So they can continue to try and secure the border. Ironically, doing the Border Patrol's job, they are carrying out the mission of the Border Patrol, which again, polling shows that Border Patrol agents wish they were being able to do right now. But that's right, you have some people setting up the wire while you have other people cutting through the wire. So it's just total chaos while this lawsuit continues.
So are we on the path to a constitutional showdown between Texas and the Biden administration?
Ultimately, it should end up at the Supreme Court on the merits, and that is because this is like a belt and suspenders approach to securing the border, okay? Is in terms of actual immigration policy, only the federal government has that under the Constitution. But among the powers that are reserved to them, states have the authority to secure the property within each of them, to protect their citizens, to set up and enforce criminal code. So just like the federal government could be securing the border, if they refuse to, then as people come into Texas and in doing so are committing illegal acts, well, then Texas law enforcement has constitutional authority to then enforce Texas law.
Are we going to see more of this conflict between the states and the federal government when you have this ideological divide where you've got an administration pursuing, really in many ways, Marxist ideology with a constitutional republic? It just doesn't seem like it works.
Well, at least while the current president is in office, that unfortunately appears to be the case. Now, if it looks like President Trump is going to be the Republican nominee for president, if he defeats President Biden, I think you would have a fundamentally different border policy at that point. And one where I think Texas and the federal government would then be sailing in the same direction.
Very quickly, last question for you, Ken. We're up against a break, but this is what the founders envisioned as a check and balance, is it not? States being able to enforce the law if the federal government does not?
That's right. Under our Constitution, we have two separate sovereignties. You have the federal government and state governments. They are co-equal sovereigns. One doesn't override the other. The Constitution assigns to each one their own specific responsibilities. And in this case, both levels, federal and state, have powers that level of government can use that has the effect of securing the border and protecting people and property within each state.
Ken Klukowski, always great to talk with you. You bring great clarity to these big legal issues. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Tony. God bless.